But wise Speranza gave him comfort sweet, and taught him how to take assured hold Upon her silver anchor, as was meet. Else had his finnes so great and manifold Made him forget all that Fidelia told. In this diftreffed doubtfull agony, When him his deareft Una did behold, Disdayning life, defiring leave to die, She found herfelfe affaild with great perplexity, And came to Coelia to declare her fmart, Who well acquainted with that commune plight, Which finfull horror workes in wounded hart, Her wifely comforted all that fhe might, With goodly counsell and advifement right, And ftreightway fent with carefull diligence To fetch a leech, that which had great infight In that difeafe of grieved confcience, And well could cure the fame. His name was Patience. Who comming to that fore difeafed knight, Could hardly him entreat to tell his griefe, Which known, and all that noyd his heavy fpright, Well fearcht, eftfoones he gan apply reliefe Of falves and medicines, which had paffing priefe, And thereto added workes of wondrous might, By which to eafe he him recur'd briefe, And much affwaged the paffion of his plight, That he his paine endur'd, as feeming now more light. But yet the caufe and root of all his ill, Inward corruption and infeded fin, Not purged nor healed behind remained ftill, And festring fore did rankle yet within, Clofe creeping twixt the marrow and the fkin, Which to extirpe he layd him privily Downe in a darkefome lowly place farre in, Whereas he meant his corrofives to apply, And with ftreight diet tame his ftubborne malady. In afhes and fackcloth he did array His dainty courfe, proud humours to abate, And dieted with fafting every day, The fwelling of his wounds to mitigate, And made him pray both early and eke late, And ever as fuperfluous flefh did rot, Amendment ready ftill at hand did wait, To pluck it out with pincers fiery hot, That foone in him was left not one corrupted jot. And bitter penance with an iron whip Was wont him once to difpell every day, And fharpe remorfe his heart did prick and nip, That drops of blood thence like a well did play, And fad repentance ufed to embay His body in fait water fmarting fore, The filthy blots of fin to wafh away. So in short fpace they did to health reftore The man, that would not live, but earft lay at deaths dore. In which his torment often was fo great, That like a lyon he would cry and roare, And rend his flefh, and his owne finewes eate. His owne deare Una hearing evermore His ruefull fhriekes and groanings, often tore Her guiltlefle garments and her golden haire, For pity of his paine and anguifh fore. Yet all with patience wifely fhe did beare, For well fhe wift, his crime could elfe be never cleare. Whom thus recovered by wife Patience And true repentance they to Una brought, Who joyous of his cured confcience, him dearely kifled, And fairely eke befought himfelfe to cherifh, And confuming thought to put away Out of his carefull breft. By this Caressa, late in child bed brought, Was woxen ftrong, and left her fruitfull neft, To her faire Una brought this unacquainted gueft. She was a woman in her frefheft age, Of wondrous beauty and of bounty rare, With goodly grace and comely perfonage, That was on earth not eafie to compare. Full of great love, but Cupids wanton fnare As hell fhe hated, chaft in worke and will, Her necke and breafts were ever open bare, That aye thereof her babes might fucke their fill, The reft was all in yellow robes arrayed ftill. A multitude of babes about her hung, Playing their fports, that joyd her to behold, Whom ftill fhe fed, whileft they were weake and young, But thruft them forth ftill, as they wexed old. And on her head fhe wore attire of gold, Adorned with gems and ouches wondrous faire, Whofe paffing price uneath was to be told. And by her fide there fate a gentle paire Of turtle doves, fhe fitting in an ivory chaire. The knight and Una entring, faire her greet, And bid her joy of that her happy brood, Who them requites with curtfies feeming meet, And entertaines with friendly chearefull mood. Then Una her befought to be fo good, As in her virtuous rules to fchoole her knight, Now after all his torment well withftood, In that fad houfe of penance, where his fpright Had paft the paines of hell and long enduring night. She was right joyous of her juft requeft, And taking by her hand that Faerie's fonne, Gan him inftruct in every good beheft Of love and righteoufnefle, and well to donne, And wrath and hatred warely to fhunne, That drew on men Gods hatred and his wrath, And many foules in dolours had fordonne. in which when him she well instructed hath, from thence to heaven she teacheth him the ready path, wherein his weaker wandring steps to guide. An ancient matron she to her does call, whose sober lookes her wisdom well descried. Her name was Mercy, well known over all, to be both gracious and eke liberal, to whom the carefull charge of him she gave, to lead aright, that he should never fall in all his wayes throughout this wild worlds wave, that Mercy in the end his righteous soul might save. The godly matron by the hand him bears forth from her presence by a narrow way, scattered with bushy thorns and ragged briers, which still before him she removed away, that nothing might his ready passage stay. And ever, when his feet encumbred were, or gan to shrink, or from the right to stray, she held him fast, and firmly did upbear, as carefull nurse her child from falling oft does rear. Eftsoons unto a holy hospital, that was forby the way, she did him bring, in which 7 beadmen, that had vowed all their life to service of high heavens King, did spend their dayes in doing godly thing. Their gates to all were open evermore, that by the weary way were travelling, that one sate waiting ever them before, to call in commers by, that needy were and poore. The first of them, that eldest was and best of all the house, had charge and government, as guardian and steward of the rest. His office was to give entertainment and lodging unto all that came and went, not unto such as could him feast again and double quite, for that he on them spent, but such as want of harbour did constrain, those for Gods sake his duty was to entertain. The second was as almoner of the place. His office was the hungry for to feed, and thirsty give to drink, a work of grace. He feared not once himself to be in need, ne cared to hoard for those, whom he did breed. The grace of God he laid up still in store, which as a stock he left unto his seed. He had enough, what need him care for more? And had he less, yet some he would give to the poore. The third had of their wardrobe cuftody, in which were not rich tires nor garments gay, the plumes of pride and wings of vanity, but clothes meet to keep keene cold away, and naked nature seemely to array, with which bare wretched wights he daily clad, the images of God in earthly clay. And if that no spare cloths to give he had, his own coat he would cut, and it distribute glad. The fourth appointed by his office was, poore prisoners to relieve with gracious aid, and captives to redeeme with price of brass, from Turks and Sarazins, which them had stayd. And though they faulty were, yet well he weighed, that God to us forgiveth every houre much more than that, why they in bands were layd. And he that harrowed hell with heavy stowre, the faulty soules from thence brought to his heavenly bowre. The fifth had charge sick persons to attend, and comfort those in point of death which lay, for them most needeth comfort in the end, when sin and hell and death do most dismay. The feeble soul departing hence away, all is but lost that living we bestow, if not well ended at our dying day. O man, have mind of that last bitter throe, for as the tree does fall, so lies it ever low. The sixth had charge of them now being dead, in seemly sort their corses to engrave, and deck with dainty flowers their bridal bed, that to their heavenly spouse both sweet and brave they might appear, when he their soules shall save. The wondrous workmanship of Gods own mould, whose face he made all beasts to fear, and gave all in his hand, even dead we honour should. Our dearest God me grant, I dead be not defouled. The seventh now, after death and burial done, had charge the tender orphans of the dead, and widows aid, least they should be undone. In face of judgment he their right would plead, nor ought the powre of mighty men did dread, in their defence, nor would for gold or fee be won their rightfull causes down to tread. And when they stood in most necessity, he did supply their want, and gave them ever free. There when the elfin knight arrived was, the first and chiefest of the 7, whose care was guests to welcome, towards him did pass, where seeing Mercy, that his steps upbare, and alwayes led to her with reverence rare, he humbly louted in meeke lowliness, and seemly welcome for her did prepare, for of their order she was patronesse, albe Carissa were their chiefest founderesse. There she a while him stays himself to rest, that to the rest more able he might be, during which time in every good behest, and godly works of alms and charity, she him instructed with a great induftry, Shortly therein fo perfect he